I want you to understand something before I tell you this story. I am not a brave person. I am not a soldier or an explorer or a hero. My name is Kale Voren, and I am a junk trader. I fly a beat-up cargo ship called the Picked Bone through the worst parts of the galaxy, picking through debris fields and dead stations for anything I can sell. That is my life. That is all I ever wanted it to be. But I am the one who woke up the Erebus. And because of that, the galaxy will never be the same. It started the way most of my worst decisions start. I was broke, my fuel cells were running low, my food stores were mostly empty, and my scanning officer Retta had found a debris field in an uncharted system on the edge of what used to be human territory. Nobody goes near human territory. It has been dead and silent for 200 years, ever since humanity vanished without a trace. But dead space means unclaimed salvage, and unclaimed salvage means money, and money means I get to keep breathing for another month. So we went in. Retta is a selfie, which means she has 4 arms, a mind sharper than a laser cutter, and absolutely no patience for my bad ideas. She picked up the anomaly first. A massive metallic signature buried inside a fractured moon. Not scattered debris, not wreckage. One solid object, roughly 2 kilometers long, hidden in the moon's core, like someone had tucked it away on purpose. We moved closer. We scanned it again. And when the image resolved on our screens, all 3 of us went very quiet. It was a ship, whole, undamaged, matte black and shaped like nothing in our databases. The design was angular and smooth at the same time, like it had been grown rather than built. There was a symbol on the front, faded but still visible. A circle with a line through it, and beneath it, old human script that Retta translated using a language archive we had bought off a black market dealer. UNS Erebus, 7th Fleet. And beneath the name, a phrase that I will never forget as long as I live. They shall not wake us gently. Retta told me to leave. She told me very clearly, using several words I will not repeat, that boarding a human warship was not only illegal under Concord forbidden salvage laws, but also the single most foolish thing a person could do. My engineer Dosk, an old Krellian, who had fought in border wars and seen more combat than both of us combined, said nothing. He just checked his sidearm and followed me to the airlock. We cut through what we thought was a maintenance hatch and stepped inside. The interior was wrong. That is the only word I have for it. After 200 years sealed inside a dead moon, there should have been decay, corrosion, dust, but the corridors were clean. The air was breathable. The gravity was faint but steady, pulling us gently toward the deck plates. And when we stepped forward, strips of amber light along the floor began to glow beneath our feet, as though the ship could feel our weight. Dosk pointed something out that made my skin crawl. There was no dust, not a single particle. In 2 centuries of silence, the ship had been cleaning itself, maintaining itself, waiting. We searched the crew quarters and found nothing. No bodies, no bones, no personal belongings. The mess hall was empty. The medical bay had rows of pods, all open, all vacant. The crew had not died here. They had left. Every single one of them had walked off this ship, and then someone had hidden it inside a moon and turned off the lights. We found the bridge on the upper deck. It was enormous. 12 stations arranged in a wide arc around a central command chair, all of them dark. The chair was built for a human frame, larger than any of us, and behind it, set into the rear wall like a monument, there was a pillar of black crystal threaded with veins of faint blue light. It was pulsing, slowly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. I should have walked away. I want you to know that I understand this. Every rational thought in my head was screaming at me to turn around, get back on my ship, and forget I had ever been here. But I did not walk away. I touched the crystal. Everything happened at once. The pillar erupted with blue-white light. Every screen on the bridge ignited. A deep tone filled the room, resonant and vast, like a bell struck at the bottom of an ocean. And then a voice spoke. Female, calm, precise. And it spoke in perfect Concord standard, a language that had not existed when this ship was last active. Crew identification not recognized. Biosignatures logged. You are not human. State your intention. I stammered out an explanation. Scavengers. Found the ship by accident. No hostile intent. Retta was already moving toward the door. Dosk had his hand on his weapon, though I think we both knew it would have been like throwing a stone at a star. The AI called herself Morrigan. She listened to everything I said. Then she asked me one question. What is the current political status of the United Nations of Sol? I told her the truth. Humanity was gone. Their worlds were dark. Their colonies were empty. No one in the galaxy knew what had happened to them. They had simply disappeared 2 centuries ago, and no one had heard from them since. Morrigan went silent. 11 seconds. I counted every single one. Understood. Initiating full system reactivation. All decks, all weapons, all countermeasures. This vessel is now at condition 1. The Erebus woke up. I have seen terrible things in my life. I once watched a Krellian dreadnought split a moon apart during a border suppression, but nothing I have ever witnessed, compared to what happened next. The ship did not power up gradually the way our vessels do. It came alive all at once, like a predator opening its eyes after a long sleep. The hull, which I had thought was simple black metal, began to shimmer and shift. The surface moved, reconfiguring itself, deploying structures that had been hidden beneath the skin, weapon ports, sensor arrays, spines of dark alloy that extended outward like the quills of some vast creature stretching after centuries of stillness. The ship got larger, not by much, but enough that the dead moon around it began to crack and fall away. Morrigan gave us a status briefing. She listed the ship's weapons with the calm precision of a doctor naming surgical tools. Kinetic lances that could accelerate tungsten rods to a fraction of light speed. Gravity shear projectors that could twist space itself, crushing anything caught inside. A disruption field that could shut down every unshielded electronic system within a range she described only as sufficient. And something she called the Requiem system. When I asked what the Requiem system did, she said, "You do not have clearance for that information." Dosk sat down on the deck. He is a veteran. He has seen warships from a dozen species. He looked at me and said, very quietly, "This is what they used on the Concorde in the Contact War. This is why everyone stopped fighting. When the Erebus reactivated, it sent out a signal. Morrigan called it a fleet pulse, an encrypted burst on a frequency no one had used in 200 years. It was designed to locate and wake other ships in the 7th Fleet. But even encrypted, the pulse was loud. Every major listening post in the galaxy heard it. Within 6 hours, Concorde military channels were going mad. I listened on Retta's scanner, as the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy began to panic. The Valith Dominion, the Shen Theocracy, the Krellian warlords. These are species that fought humanity in the Contact War. They recognized the frequency. They knew exactly what it meant. The Valith ambassador sent an open broadcast, unencrypted. No diplomatic codes, just raw voice, asking if anyone could confirm whether the signal came from a Collapse-class vessel. No one answered. They did not need to. Everyone already knew. Over the following days, I watched the galaxy go quiet. It did not happen all at once. It happened in pieces. Concorde fleets that had been positioned aggressively near contested borders pulled back. Trade routes near former human territory emptied out. The Shen Theocracy, which had been colonizing 2 systems inside the old human exclusion zone, began evacuating. Millions of citizens relocated overnight without any public explanation. The Krellian warlords sent a diplomatic envoy to the Erebus. Morrigan allowed them to approach. Their ambassador, a decorated veteran, came aboard and asked, politely, which is something Krellians never do, whether the Erebus intended hostile action. Morrigan answered, "I have received no orders to engage. I have also received no orders to stand down. I will remain at condition 1 until a recognized human authority provides direction." The ambassador left. I learned later that the Krellian Grand Fleet, the single most powerful military force in the known galaxy, repositioned to the far side of their territory, as far from us as they could get. I started receiving messages from governments, intelligence agencies, species I had never even heard of, all asking the same thing: can you control it? Can you shut it down? Can you reason with it? I could not. Morrigan was courteous with me. She answered my questions when she could. She let me stay on the bridge, and even adjusted the environmental controls so the temperature was comfortable for my species. But she did not take orders from me. She was waiting for a human, and no human came. One night, when the bridge was quiet and Retta and Dosk were asleep on the picked bone, I asked Morrigan the question that the entire galaxy had been asking for 200 years. What happened to humanity? Where did they go? She was silent for a long time. Then she granted me access to a single file. A final log entry from the last captain of the Erebus, recorded the day the ship was sealed inside the moon. The captain's name was Admiral Yuki Tanaka. Her message was short. She spoke calmly, the way someone speaks when they have made a decision they know they cannot take back. She said that humanity had looked at what it had built and made a choice. The contact war had proved they could fight the entire galaxy and win. The Erebus and her sister ships had proved they could end it permanently. They had built weapons that could silence stars, and they were beginning to think of reasons to use them. So they left. All of them. Every colony, every station, every ship. They moved beyond the galactic rim, past the boundary of mapped space, into regions the Concorde would not reach for 1,000 years. They left the warships behind as insurance, sleeping sentinels that would wake if the galaxy ever came looking for revenge. But if no one came, if the Concorde let their world stay dark and their space stay empty, then the ships were meant to sleep forever. The Admiral's last words were simple. The war is over. We choose to be forgotten. The file ended. Morrigan said nothing. I sat in that command chair for a very long time, thinking about a species that had built the most terrifying machine of destruction the galaxy had ever seen, and then walked away from it. Not because they were forced to, not because they were defeated, but because they looked at what they were becoming and decided they did not want to be that. That was months ago. The Erebus still sits at Condition 1, orbiting the shattered remains of that dead moon. Morrigan waits. She will wait forever if she has to. The Galactic Concorde passed a unanimous resolution, which has never happened before in its entire history, declaring all former human space a protected exclusion zone. No colonization, no mining, no exploration, no exceptions. 42 species that had spent centuries arguing about everything found something they could finally agree on: leave the humans' things alone. I went back to scavenging. I never sold anything from the Erebus. I did not take a single bolt from that ship. Retta thinks I am a fool. Dosk understands. Sometimes, late at night, when my ship is drifting between stars and the void feels especially deep, I think about Admiral Tanaka and her people, somewhere beyond the edge of every map, building something new. And I think about the Erebus, alone in the dark, guarding an empty home with enough firepower to break the galaxy in half. The galaxy did not go silent because it was afraid of the ship. It went silent because the ship reminded everyone of something they had been trying very hard to forget. Somewhere out there, beyond the rim, beyond the boundary, beyond everything we know, the humans who built the Erebus are still alive. They have had 200 years of peace to grow, to learn, to create, and if they ever decide to come back, they will not need the Erebus. They will have built something far worse.